President Trump doubling down on his decision to fire Federal Reserve Governor Lisa Cook over alleged mortgage fraud. The president responding after Cook says that she's taking legal action. Watch this.
When it comes to Fed Governor Lisa Cook, her lawyer has said that they're going to be filing a lawsuit challenging this legal action. What is your response? Are you prepared for a legal fight? And then a little bit more.
Oh, sure. Always. You always have legal fights. She seems to have had an infraction, and she can't have an infraction, especially that infraction, because she's in charge of, if you think about it, mortgages, and we need people that are 100% above board, and it doesn't seem like she was.
Joining me now is Kentucky Congressman Andy Barr. Congressman, you're backing the president's decision. There's an op-ed now at FT.com from Janet Yellen, of course, former Federal Reserve chief, says that the governors are on 14-year terms, so they can't be tossed aside by presidents who dislike their views. So there's two sides to this. You've got the independence of the Fed, which many in the market say is important, but then you've got these allegations of misconduct by Cook that are being currently investigated. Your reaction to all of it?
Well, Cheryl, Fed independence should not be confused with a total lack of accountability by Fed governors. The reality is that the Federal Reserve is not just the central bank in charge of the conduct of monetary policy and interest rate policy. The Federal Reserve is the top bank regulator of the United States. And the duty of a Federal Reserve governor is to prevent mortgage fraud, not commit it. The fact pattern here is very clear. You have a Fed governor alleged to have applied for a mortgage on two separate residences in a span of 2 weeks, where she's claiming a primary residence on both. This falls squarely within the definition of owner occupancy fraud under 18 U.S. Code 1014. We need a Federal Reserve that is beyond reproach, beyond even the appearance of impropriety in matters of personal finances. And here the president has cause to dismiss or to restore accountability and integrity at the Federal Reserve. Yeah, well, and let me ask you about the legal side of it because of your legal background, sir, if you don't mind, because Abby Lowell, who she's hired to represent her, says that the president lacks the legal authority to remove a Senate-confirmed Fed governor. Well, that's funny because, of course, she did hire Hunter Biden's lawyer here, but he needs to brush up on the law because Section 10 of the Federal Reserve Act gives the president to dismiss a Fed governor for cause. It's happened before in history, and there's no better example of a for-cause removal than the malfeasance that's being alleged here. So what's interesting is we have not heard any substantive defense offered by Governor Cook or her legal team here. All we hear is an indignant citation of Fed independence when there is no apology, there is no recognition that she made a mistake or some claim that she made a mistake. It's just hiding behind this this faux defense of Fed independence. Fed independence does not mean that Fed governors can commit mortgage fraud with impunity. Yeah, well, certainly, again, we do expect a legal fight. She's saying she won't resign. We're going to continue to follow, of course, that story. President Trump is planning to admit up to 600,000 Chinese students into American universities. China's foreign ministry spokesperson said in part that China hopes the U.S. will act on President Trump's commitment to welcoming Chinese students to study in the country, stop groundlessly harassing, interrogating, or repatriating them, and earnestly protect their legitimate and lawful rights and interests. Congressman, you reintroduced the Fight China Act to safeguard U.S. investments from fueling CCP aggression. What do you make of this proposal to bring 600,000 or admit 600,000 Chinese students into the country to go to school here? Well, there's no president in the history of our country, certainly not in my lifetime, who has taken on the threat from China more seriously than this president. Think about it. President Trump has addressed head-on the unfair trade practices, the theft of intellectual property. He supported the One Big Beautiful Bill that invested an additional $150 billion in the modernization of the American Navy to deter Chinese aggression against Taiwan in the Western Pacific. He has issued an America First investment policy, something that works very much in tandem with my legislation, the Fight China Act, which would block Western capital flows into Chinese military-industrial complex companies. And look at what President Trump has done to take on the anti-Semitism on college campuses. The idea that President Trump would allow Chinese spies on college campuses, it's just absurd. It's just ridiculous. President Trump understands that Chinese anti-communist dissidents can add to our country and add to the fight against China. And that's an important distinction. This administration will continue its strong efforts to prevent academic espionage by Chinese. And by the way, think of what this president has done to seal our border. We saw, because of Biden's open border, thousands of undocumented Chinese immigrants coming across the country. President Trump has stopped that. And so I trust this president when it comes to deterring Chinese aggression or espionage or malign activity.
Well, there was just, this is front page of FoxNews.com this morning, is this Chinese doctor that was trying to smuggle cancer research data back to China, was apprehended and caught, but you know, this was stolen data to take it home to the Chinese. So it's a very important topic, and obviously the trade negotiations are underway right now. Now this marks today, this week, excuse me, 4 years since that disastrous pullout of U.S. troops from Afghanistan. 13 of our service members were killed at Abbey Gate. More than 170 Afghanis killed. Congressman, you were the first member of the House to call for resignations from the Biden National Security Team. Here we are once again with this anniversary, and I'm sure you saw those families in the Oval Office with President Trump, who was willing to meet with them and listen to them, something that President Biden wouldn't do.
Yeah, thank goodness for President Trump honoring those families. I had the privilege of getting to vote for the Congressional Gold Medal posthumously awarded to those 13 service members that were killed directly as a result of the incompetency of the Biden administration's chaotic retreat from Afghanistan and unilateral withdrawal from Afghanistan over the objections of our NATO allies, over the pleas of our the Afghan government, our allies, despite the fact that there was a dissent cable that was offered by State Department officials, embassy officials in Kabul. The Biden administration, and we did a 3-year review of what happened, the Republicans did on the House Foreign Affairs Committee, and I was part of that investigation. And the conclusion was that the Biden administration's go to zero order, that was going to happen. They were determined to do that regardless of the conditions in the Doha Agreement. They were determined to do that despite the fact that our Afghan allies and State Department officials on the ground were begging the president and his national security team to not do it. So I was right back several years ago to call for the resignation of all of the national security team. $7 billion in American military equipment left in the hands of the Taliban, and the Taliban left undeterred from the reprisal killings of our friends and allies in Afghanistan, who fought alongside our brave men and women who kept our homeland safe for 20 years.
Yeah, no, and I remember that even senior military leaders were telling President Biden at the time, don't give up Bagram Air Base. And he did. And look at what happened there. I'm glad you brought that up, sir. Congressman Andy Barr.
By the way, also Bagram on the back door of China, too.
I know. That's a difficult moment for our country. Congressman Andy Barr, it's always great to speak with you. Thank you for joining us this morning, and we're looking forward to you returning to Washington next week.
Thank you, Cheryl.
All right. Thank you.